Hello, my name is Tayo Afawape, and I am a Community Development Supervisor. Today, I'll be going over how to submit your application to CDA via EGrAMS. All applications must be submitted through EGrAMS. Any alternatives, including written, emailed, or fax copies of the application, will not be accepted. The simplest way to access the EGrAMS presentation slides are to go to the City of St. Louis website, which is www.stlewis-mo.gov. Under the search field, type in 2017 CDA EGrAMS. Click on the option that says CDA EGrAMS Overview and Applications. Then click on 2017 EGrAMS Presentation. These EGrAMS slides provide very detailed instructions. I encourage users to follow them as they prepare the application in EGrAMS. If you do not have the slides in front of you, please make note of the slides that I will reference throughout this presentation. For the sake of time, I will only highlight certain slides. To access EGrAMS, go to cdagrants.com. As a caveat, I will be using a test version of EGrAMS. This test site, however, is similar to what the user will be viewing. I will first refer to slide 4, which is called Validate Workstation. Once users are on the EGrAMS website, they should validate their workstation to ensure they have the minimum software and hardware requirements. Click on Validate. Wait to see 3 green check marks. These check marks indicate that JavaScript and pop-ups are enabled and that the user is operating under a supported browser. Slide 5 refers to Registration to Submission, 7 Easy Steps. This slide talks about the 7 steps needed to submit the application, which are: number 1, register your agency, if a new agency. Number 2, create a user profile, if you are a new user. Number 3, start a new application. Number 4, assign agency users if multiple persons will be assigned to enter different sections of the application. Number 5, enter edit application. This step would be performed when first inputting information into or revising the application. Number 6, validate grant application to ensure the user populates all fields and that certain data points are consistently entered. And number 7, print submit application to print a final version of the application for the agency's records and to submit the application electronically to CDA. Slides 6 through 9 refers to step 1, called Register Your Agency. The user will need to register the agency if you have not already done so. To register or to check if the agency needs to register, click on Register Your Agency. Users will first see a pop-up box requesting them to enter the agency's federal ID number and agency name. Let us ignore that for a second and click on the ellipses to check if the agency is already registered. The ellipses box populates a lookup box. This is a common feature of EGrAMS. When there's a large list to scroll through, the user can use the arrows to move forward or backward a page, or use the double arrows to go forward or go to the first or last page. For easier lookup, the user can also type in a keyword preceded and followed by a %sign. For example, if my organization is called XYZ organization, next to the description box, I could type in %sign XYZ and click Lookup to display organizations with the word XYZ. Since I am in the system, I would skip this step. However, let me assume that I am not in the system. I would then need to complete at least all fields marked with an asterisk. There are several fields on the screen I would like to emphasize. The first field being the federal ID number. The user cannot change the federal ID number once saved, so make sure it is correct. Secondly, after I input the state and the zip code, the code lookup box will populate all of the counties within Missouri. Everything is in alphabetical order except for St. Louis City, which is the last option. For faster lookup, you can also type in the code 510, which stands for St. Louis City. Slide 11 refers to step 2, create a user profile. Users must complete this step if they do not have a user profile. The pop-up box indicates that a user profile cannot be created if the agency has not registered. The user who will be responsible for creating the application must be designated as the project director. Oops, let me clear this out. So we get a screen identical to what you will be seeing. And let's click on designation title. Okay. The project director is the owner of the application and can assign other users to complete different sections of the application. I will later discuss why the project director may want to do this. Like before, on the previous screen, the user at least must enter text in fields marked with an asterisk. One feature of this page I would like to emphasize is the button at the bottom of the screen called Show Security. Frequently, at the final hour, we get distressed emails saying a user has been locked out. To prevent this from happening, users should, 1, select security questions that they can respond to should they get locked out. 2, write down the username and password and put it in a discrete place. Or 3, save the username and password to the computer. After creating a user profile, log into the system by clicking on EGrAMS Login. I am now referring to slide number 14. After creating a user profile, I just clicked on EGrAMS Login and notice that my username and password is auto-populated because I saved them to my computer so that I will not get locked out of EGrAMS. The next slide I would like to highlight is slide 16, step 3, start a new application. To start an application, once I am logged in, I can go to Project Director, start a new application. To add a new application, make sure the Add button is highlighted. Under the grant program, my test site is using information from the previous grant year, and therefore I have the option of CDBG 21. Your screen will populate the option that is appropriate for you. I will next type in the project number and the project title. This is also the screen where users can change, delete, or review the application. In this example, XYZ organization is applying for 2 grants. I had already previously entered in another grant application. To review the grants that are currently active, click on Review, click on Find. The screen now populates both of the applications, XYZ project and ABC project. It is crucial that the project director is the one who creates the application because it allows for him or her to assign users to work on the application. But why would a project director opt to divvy up portions of the application to other users? A project director may, for instance, grant access to the fiscal head to input budget information, the program supervisor to input details about the proposed activity, and the project director may want to respond to broader questions concerning the agency's mission and overall capacity. Slides discussing in depth the project director's role can be found on slides 13 and 16 through 22. Next, I'll refer to slide 20, which talks about step 4, assigning agency users. To assign agency users, go to Project Director, Assign Agency Users. Click on the Find button. And then click on the Assign button. In this instance, there are 2 users, which are me and Jane Doe, who are assigned to both ABC project and XYZ project. But remember, an agency is not required to have additional users besides the project director. But if the project director recruits multiple users, this is a spot where the project director can go to ensure that all users have correctly created a user profile. Let's go to slides 23 through 29 that talk about step 5, enter edit application. To enter edit application, go to grant application, enter edit application. Notice I have both of my projects. One is work in progress while one is still pending. I'll click on the ABC project. These slides, 23 through 29, discuss in depth the Enter Edit application screen. And notice EGrAMS thoughtfully reminds us when the submission deadline is. Here are 5 tips when utilizing this screen. Tip number 1, the Show Documents hyperlink may or may not contain updated capacity building documents. Notice it's not working. However, if they're not updated or not working, users can retrieve the most current documents on the CDA website, which will be posted no later than the completion of the virtual capacity building sessions. By the way, I strongly encourage staff to attend all of these virtual capacity building sessions for further instruction about the application process. Tip number 2. EGrAMS provides a number of ways to navigate across the tabs. I have found the easiest way to navigate is to click on the desired tab, click on Show Tree in order to view the tab's subsections, then select the desired subsection and click on OK. If users want to go to the next page or previous page, click on the arrows. If a tab is grayed out and the user cannot click on it, it is because the project director did not grant the user access to it. If this is unintentional, go to your project director to rectify the situation. Tip number 3. EGrAMS allows users to cut and paste from previous applications through the copy button. However, I recommend that they type in responses into a word processing software such as Microsoft Word and cut and paste the responses from the Word document into EGrAMS so that they can readily utilize the information for the next funding cycle. Tip number 4. Although not reflected on this test site, new this year, there will be a section dedicated to questions about proposed activities involving construction. Public facilities and improvements are 2 eligible CDBG activities that involve construction. For more information about public facilities and improvements, stay tuned to the organizational requirements training session that will go more in depth about construction projects. This training will start on Tuesday, 27th at 10 a.m. Tip number 5. Slide 38 talks about entering data into the proposed budget. I strongly encourage users to explain each line item by clicking on the narrative box to describe what each expense will be used for. So, for example, if for local travel costs, I state that the agency will spend $1,500 on gas. The narrative, I will explain. Case managers will utilize personal vehicles to check on their clients. Click on OK. And let's click on Save. And then if I click on the PDF button, it creates a preview of the section the user is editing. So as you can see, the local travel expenses, 1,500 is populated, as well as the narrative. Slide 40 refers to step 6 of this process, validating the grant application. After entering the application into EGrAMS, check that your application is free from errors. As highlighted on slide 40, two important suggestions are that users should validate each section upon completion and allow themselves several days, not hours nor minutes, to validate the application. EGrAMS within CDA is affectionately called ERRORgrams because it seems like the more data you enter, the more error messages you receive. So again, validating each section allows users to better manage coping with the error messages. For example, let's say that the section I am currently on is complete. Notice that the error button is grayed out. I've already clicked on Save, and now I next would click on Validate. Notice when I click on Validate, the error button becomes active. And I get a dialog box that details the errors. Also notice that the errors are outlined in red. Let's see if I can show it here. Oh. Let me go to another example where I can show that to you. Okay, click on Save, click on Validate. Okay, the button appears, click on OK, and notice this is an example where you can hover over the red boxes in order to tell me what the error is. I can also click on the error button and select the error, and EGrAMS will direct me to the errors. Once you have fixed the errors, you rinse and repeat. Click Save, Validate, Fix Errors until you have no more errors. Slide 41 refers to the seventh or last step called Print Submit Application. Assuming that I have validated each section, I next would want to print the application for my records and submit it to CDA. I do this by first closing out of this screen, click on Grant Application, Print Submit Application. And then I would click on the hyperlink. I was working on ABC project. Now, I have just discussed how users need to validate each section of the application to minimize errors. This is now the time to validate the entire application. If there are still any errors, EGrAMS will notify the user. Correcting the errors would be similar to what I just described. One key difference is that I would strongly suggest that users print out the error messages. So let me click on Validate. It's stating I have errors. Oh, let's see. Click on View Errors. And I would create a PDF preview of all the errors, and I would print out this screen. After printing out this screen, I would close this out, go back into Grant Application, enter Edit Application, click on the project that I'm working on, and start tackling those error messages. So slides 42 through 43 discuss how users can create a PDF to print the application. So let me go back into Print Submit. Okay. Clicking on the left icon allows a user to preview the application and uploaded documents attached to the application. Clicking on the right icon, however, only allows a user to preview the application without the uploaded attachments. Now, I'm actually going to exit out of here very quickly and go to this one instead, because this it was the XYZ project in which I had uploaded an attachment. I recommend clicking on the left icon to preview the totality of the application. Notice, in this example, I have already attached the 501c3 letter, and I can click on the hyperlink to view it. Back there again. I can also view all the uploaded attachments at the end of the application. Okay, see? So page 21 and 21, that signals the end of the application. And notice the uploaded attachment is there as well. Slides 44 through 45 talk about submitting your application. You cannot submit an application with errors. For example, if I try clicking Submit, it tells me I have errors, so it will not let me submit the application. In the past, many agencies have reached this point in the application process at the final hour, but because they cannot resolve the errors in time, they fail to submit the application. Please do not be one of these agencies. Not only start the application process early, but also start the validation process early as well. That way, if you need assistance in resolving errors, you will have ample time to resolve them and submit the application in a timely fashion. So again, please start this process early. I have highlighted the key slides on how to follow the 7 steps to submit the grant application. I will now review some other helpful tools. Slides 47 through 48 go over how to edit user profile. Slide 49 talks about how to edit the agency profile. To do that, I would go to Administration, Agency Information. Make sure to click on Change and Find before making any revisions. Note, I cannot change the federal ID number because it is grayed out. This is why it is important that users enter the correct number when they register their agencies. Slide 50 talks about what to do if you forget your password. So I'm going to log out and go to EGrAMS login. So let's say I forgot my password. click on Forget Password. You would type in the username and automatically populates, or will, not populate, but prompt users to answer the security questions in order to create a new password. Remember that you should have already created your security questions when you created your user profile. Slide 51 talks about changing your password. The easiest way to change your password is to click on Change Password and typing in the new password. However, if you forget your password and did not appropriately store it, after 3 failed attempts, your users will be locked out of EGrAMS. That is why it is crucial to have other mechanisms in place to retrieve your password, which are, I'll repeat, utilizing security questions, which we have just covered, writing it down and saving it in a discrete place, or saving the password onto your computer. In summary, number 1, start creating your application early. Number 2, remember your username and password by creating security questions, writing them down, or saving them onto your computer. Number 3, the project director starts the application process. Number 4, the project director is responsible for assigning multiple users to work on different parts of the application. The project director can also input the entire application without assistance. Number 5, from the narrative sections of the application, text may be copied and pasted from a Word document. However, your budget sections will need to be manually entered. Number 6, save and validate each section before you validate the entire application. Number 7, start the validation process early. If you encounter any problems, my first suggestion is to review the slides and this presentation again. If that does not help, number 2, reach out to your project director because the project director may not have granted you access. If that still doesn't work, then email the CDA help desk at egrams support@stlewis-mo.gov. You must email the CDA help desk no later than 12 p.m. on the date of the application, 12 p.m. on the due date of the application. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.